So here we are again then. To talk and listen to nothing.
Looks like Marcus is out biking.
Oh, Marcus is on the road. Oh, he is, yeah. Oh, yeah. Get the thumbs up. So what we're speaking about isn't knowing. And because it isn't knowing, we can call it not knowing or unknowing. But really all that's trying to point to is that knowing is the illusion, the certainty. It's kind of like there's no difference between knowing and not knowing. Whereas for me, there's a certainty in knowing. And I don't like the uncertainty of not knowing. I don't know the difference between knowing and not knowing. There really isn't any difference. Not knowing always gave me the sense of insecurity. Of if I find out, then I'll feel better. Even if I'm not sure, if I think I'm on the right path, if I'm on the right track, moving towards knowing, moving towards some kind of certainty, then I'll feel okay. Then I do feel okay, because I'm actually moving towards what I feel will make me feel secure. Well, there is no security. None. And like virtually everything we talk about when we're speaking about this, that incredible paradox is that complete insecurity of not knowing feels far more secure than the quest for knowledge ever felt. It's just okay not knowing. And okay that it never was okay for me, because as soon as I said I knew something, all it did was infer what I still didn't know and what I still had to learn, what was yet to be understood, what was yet to be had, to be got. And I know it can't help it, but when speaking about this, or it's rather when listening to someone speaking about this, can't help but infer that they do know what they're speaking about, when the exact opposite is what's being spoken. I haven't got a clue. I don't even know that I don't know. So you've heard me say before, excuse me a minute. I could just hear myself speaking in the other room. It's quite off-putting. Don't want to hear yourself speak this nonsense. I don't know what I was saying now. I guess what I want to say is that love is in not knowing. Love is in the no need to know. You could say that love is in the mystery, which is the unknowableness, but it's not mysterious. It isn't a mysterious mystery. This is the most obvious, the most tangible, and yet completely intangible mystery. So simple, too simple. Completely real, absolutely real, and completely unknowable. Nothing hidden. Well, that's quite a short introduction, but I think that'll do. I want to tell Marcus that he really should have his hands on his handlebars. He's riding no hands. Totally irresponsible behavior. Marcus, get your hands on your handlebars. Mute him quickly, Darren.
Oh, that's great. Michael's got his hand up.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Tim. While you were talking, I was thinking that even not knowing is a handhold, and that I was wondering if it's possible to even function without some handhold in this reality, knowing that we don't know.
Yeah.
Still a subtle form of knowing. Well, maybe not so subtle.
No, I would, yeah, no, I don't disagree. You know, the words, there isn't a right way of putting it, it feels. But there is really no difference between what I say is knowing and what I say is not knowing. That's how it feels. So there is knowing, but it feels very similar in a way. It feels similar to saying there's only what there is, or there's only what's happening, and what's happening isn't happening. It's in the same way. So I know what's happening. If you ask me what's happening, I could tell you. And then there would be there'd be an obviousness that what I've said is happening isn't really what's happening at all. It's just a really very poor attempt at a very personal description, which is, you know, it has value, but, you know, its value is very limited. You could say, to the point of being pointless. But there isn't, yeah, but there really isn't any difference. Whereas really all I'm trying to point to the difference between how it was for me when I really knew what I knew. I did know. If you asked me what I knew, I'd be absolutely adamant about what I know, and would fight to the death for the right to know it as well, you know, for the right, to be correct. And the great freedom, I mean, I would still veer towards the word liberation, you know, the feeling liberated. There is liberation for just being as it is, which includes what I called myself. Whereas for me, it always had to be a certain way. And that included me being right, which is my knowing what is going on and how things work. And freedom from that is very, very liberating. Life is so much easier without that desperate need to know. But I don't disagree with what you said. No. No, saying not knowing is far too much. But then we could say that of anything we say, really, about this. And I think the sense of not knowing is really only in contrast to the knowing that I would have said I had before. That's the contrast. And not knowing for me is almost exactly the same as saying emptiness or no thing. So I can know the thingness of things, but the nothingness of everything, that's obviously not knowable. And that can be very obvious. And so in that you can say that there's no things, but the thingness remains. Everything being nothing and what it is. And the what it is the knowledge, you could say. I know, I can name it and I know what it is. By naming it, and I can tell you some things about it, how it functions, or I can tell you its relationship to other things. But that's all seen to be empty in a very obvious way. I don't mean it's seen. Seen is the wrong word. You don't see emptiness. There's no seeing of empty. It's just that the knowledge is empty. The words are empty. The words don't mean what they say. The meaning is empty. Essentially, it's all empty.
Can I ask a question, Tim? I don't know how to raise my hand on the screen, but is it okay?
Yeah, is that okay, Michael?
In that emptiness, Tim, and in there's only this. Is there a Tim who has choices, or is life just happening to Tim?
No, well, that's what we're talking about. The life isn't happening to Tim.
The life is not happening.
No, not to Tim.
Life is.
That's what we're talking about. The end of life. So we're talking of what we're trying to convey is that life doesn't happen to Jens or Tim or Michael or Heidi. There's just life happening.
So there's no choices. There's no one to choose this or that.
Well, no, there'll be choices appear exactly like they did. So there does appear to be choosing, yeah. But just as life's not happening to someone, there isn't someone making the choices. But yeah, of course, if you ask me, do I want tea or coffee, then the words come out, coffee, please. But you know, what we're speaking about is this. There's only one real illusory part of what's happening, and that's that I'm doing it. I'm doing the happening. I'm making it happen. And also it's happening to me. So there's two elements of self that are the illusory elements. One is that I'm making things happen, choosing, for example, whereas choosing just happens naturally. And the other thing is that what is happening to me.
And that choosing sometimes seems to be able to hurt, can seem to hurt people as well. Not wanting to hurt, and it's happening. So it looks like arrogance, or
it can look like that. It can look, yeah, of course. Well, again, there's no knowing how it would appear to another human being. I mean, the arrogance of self is it knows I make these choices, and then by making these choices, I'm ensuring that I don't hurt other human beings, as though I know all cause and effect. I mean, it's a great illusion, which self loves because it gives the illusion of being in control. And not only am I in control of my life, but I'm in control of the other human beings I interact with. I know if I do this, then they will feel that, or they will think that, as though we know. another, and we know consequences of our actions.
Mm.
It's a great arrogance. We never know.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jens. No, it's just, again, there's no knowing. I mean, in
Diana.
actual fact, there isn't anything that is going to happen. Sorry, Darren, go on.
That's okay. Diana has a hand up.
Diana. Where's Diana? Oh, there you are.
She's still muted.
Hi, Diana.
How are you? Oh, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Technology. Yeah, I think it's such a conundrum. Like, how is this message simultaneously resonant and utterly revolting?
Hmm.
I mean, it's really a hard pill to swallow. Yeah, knowing is the same as not knowing. I mean, it just seems like knowing is such a vivid experience. And I don't mean the knowing of this person, you know, the experiences of this person. That's not so, that's ordinary. But that is ordinary. But the sheer, the depth of the emptiness is somehow perceivable. And I know it doesn't make sense. There's a knowing of, it's like emptiness can know only emptiness.
Yeah.
So the person can't be there. Like, there's no person. The person will never know emptiness. The mind will never fathom emptiness. That one is limited.
Yeah.
But yet, there is this extremely vivid, palpable, visceral knowing, really is a good word. It's a damn good word. But it's like a visceral perception of the depths of nothing, just abject nothing, emptiness, and it's perceivable. Don't ask me by what. I mean, it's
well,
it's mysterious. That's an understatement. But there's awe. There's a sense of awe. I mean, there's like resonance and awe and astonishment. And then you come back to the ordinary experiences of like an individual person, and it's still totally ordinary and mundane and just mind-numbingly dumb most of the time. And yet it's extraordinary. Having gone through the nothing and back to the something.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it makes it all the more like, how is this happening, Tim? I mean, how many fingers am I holding up?
I have no idea how it's happening. That's what we're speaking about. The not knowing is the.
But
we don't
something
know.
knows.
There is no knowing.
Something knows this experience, this tangible experience. Something knows that. It's a tangible experience. It's limited. Okay, got it. It's empty. Got it. Check, check, check. But something is moving in this dreamscape. And there's bliss in that. And there's anxiety and crushing pain. I mean, that's all known. We know these things and we can talk about them because I know you know them too.
Yeah, of course.
It's fucking undeniable, Tim.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying any of that human experience, not at all.
And it's just for the sake, I mean, the knowing that, I mean, it's not about being able to talk about it. I mean, it's just knowing for the sake of knowing. No other reason. Just, that's good enough. That's damn good. Like, and, you know, not talking about it, not writing about it. That's all secondary. That's all secondary. But it's just the knowing, the experience. You know, it's not even experience. It's like, I don't know. I don't know.
No, and I don't know either, Diana. That's the problem with speaking about this. It can sound like, oh well, he must know. He's speaking about it.
I can't.
That's really what I wanted to emphasize today. That there isn't anyone who knows any more about this than you do, or any other human being, because we're talking about the incomprehensibility of it all.
Yes.
It's just, but yeah, I get what you mean. The thing about the word knowing, of course, it can mean different things, like all words. And I think what you're pointing to when you say that it's absolutely known, of course, what's happening, what seems to be happening, what is always known, but you won't be able to say what or why or how. And by not knowing, I'm saying there's the desire to name, to understand, to frame it, that can fall away, because that was all for me, so that I would feel more secure in my knowledge and understanding. I think that's what you mean. I don't know that. Does that sound more or less what? Is that the knowing that you're speaking of?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, possibly.
Again, I don't know.
I don't know.
That's what we're speaking of. I don't know.
And I don't care. I don't need to know.
No.
I don't care. But I'm never going to deny that life is here. I will never say that it's a conundrum, but it's totally empty. It's totally nothing. There's no compromise. It's uncompromisingly nothing. And yet it is totally full.
Yeah.
And you can't deny the fullness.
No.
I can't deny the fullness. I am aware.
No.
I
no.
feel it.
This isn't about a denial of fullness of life. You could say it's a complete celebration of
I think
that.
you're the exception. Yes. I think a lot, I just, you know, I mean, I've spent most of my search time in plastic Vita.
Yeah.
I sort of stumbled upon this message a few months ago, and it's been interesting. And you're one of the few people that most of them, I feel, are just replacing one set of concepts with another more sort of subtle set of concepts, mental concepts, like nothing, nobody. But I think you're the exception. I really feel like, I don't know, like your intro was brilliant. Your intro, sometimes you're really just truly brilliant. Like,
Thanks, Diana.
It's like Shakespearean. Like you have that, like Shakespearean sort of, you bring that. You bring it. You bring it. Like
steady. My ego can't
really,
take it.
I mean, we all love a bit of Shakespeare, right?
Of course we do.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, can you deny Shakespeare? Can you deny Mozart, Beethoven?
No.
This shit happened.
Who would want to?
This shit happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Like, yeah. Anyway.
I did get abused the other day for saying Coldplay were great, though, which I took great offense at. Yeah. Thanks, Diana.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Tim.
Bloody hell, Shakespeare. I don't know what my A-level English teacher would make of that. He'd be laughing, that's for sure. that I could ever be. When we were doing Macbeth, and I was getting straight E's in all my essays, Mr. German would be thrilled. So if you've got a question or you want to share anything, then just put your hand up. I don't know who said this, but it's quite nice. There is bliss in accepting that the answer is there is no answer, true freedom. I don't disagree, but I do slightly, in that the problem for me is this isn't a message of acceptance. This isn't a message of surrender or acceptance. Whether there's resistance to what is, there is only what is, including the resistance. You know, whether there is a sense of being in resistance to life, which is, this shouldn't be happening, this isn't how it should be, this isn't how I should be. That's what I'm calling the resistance. Whether that's happening or not, everything is exactly as it is. And you will hear some speakers say, everything's happening perfectly. You won't hear me say that, because everything is just happening as it is. Perfection, if ever there was a carrot to be dangled in front of self, it would be the perfection carrot. That all I have to do is rid myself of myself, and then everything will be perfect. I can't emphasize enough, that is not the message. That is not what I want to say. That's not what wants to be said. Everything is absolutely imperfectly as it is. Now, if you want to see that as perfection, imperfectly perfect, perfectly imperfect, that's okay. But perfection is absolutely, for me, perfection is the most abstract idea that the human self has created in order to be eternally, constantly discontent with what is.
I was just going to jump in and say, if anyone does want to put their hand up and isn't sure how to, I've just popped a message in chat telling you how to do that. And also Elizabeth has her hand up.
Daniel Litvak has said, the only thing we can know for certain is that it will never be cool to say you like Coldplay.
Oh, come on, they've got a few good tracks. Viva La Vida, that's good. I like that one.
Darren, I'm not really interested in your opinion. I'm just saying they're brilliant. Now, butt out. The one good track. That's what everyone says about shit bands. Oh yeah, they had the one good track.
Fix You, that's nice. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's far more radical to say you like Coldplay these days than it is to speak about non-duality, I think.
Yeah. Elizabeth has her hand up. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, how are you? So I'm so happy to be here because it's the first time I've actually dialed in. I see you on YouTube all the time though, but I'm the one that said about accepting that there is no answer. Could you repeat what you said instead of using the word accepting?
The thing is, you asked me what I've said. I never know what I've said, Elizabeth.
I think just go ahead.
What do you ask me a specific question, and then I'll start from scratch again.
So accepting that there is no answer, and I found that that kind of goes across the board on pretty much everything. Do you think that applies everywhere? In what I mean, it's like any of the questions that people are asking why to. There's no separation between that and just accepting the now, is there?
Well, there's no, the word accepting, the reason that I wouldn't use the word acceptance or accepting, that is something for me to do, isn't it? That's what I do. I have a real sense that I can either accept or resist, or just be neutral somewhere, or just be. So if it doesn't matter to me at all, I just dismiss it. I mean, it's amazing how much self does that, by the way. Self will say that it either is accepting of an idea or a belief, or it's, rejecting of it. But for the most part, if it's not directly relevant to me, self just dismisses it utterly. Doesn't even touch the sides. It doesn't even register. That's why we're very safe in talking about non-duality to most people, because it won't register at all. It would just be dismissed as, oh, there's nothing in it for me. It's just another silly cult.
Yeah.
It's just another bizarre idea. So really, there is no one doing any of that. It just naturally happens. So the idea that there is someone who accepts or rejects or dismisses is just an idea.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very convincing felt sense of, I am doing that. I do have the power to accept or reject. But really, that's all happening naturally.
Yeah, I think I've gotten to the point where I'm very neutral myself. I have where I am at, and where other people are at are just fine. What they believe is just fine.
Yeah.
I'm neutral across the board, and I've found that is not accepted by most people.
No,
they don't like that neutrality.
No. Well, nearly everyone needs you to take a stance so they know where you're standing, so then they can put you in a box.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to take a stance on a particular belief, which is what ideas are, by the way. Any idea is a belief. There really isn't any difference. Somebody says something, they're either expecting you to reject or accept. Or you can sit on the fence, but of course the people who really like the idea, they hate you sitting on the fence. And the ones who really reject the idea, they hate you sitting on the fence as well.
My question would be, what would change if we knew?
What would change?
I mean, what would change?
The world
would anything change?
Well, the wonder is that the world won't change. The world can't change. The world is exactly as it is. That's the whole of this message, is what we're calling the world, which is just another way of saying life, really. It's the life that's knowable, the life that's experienceable. That is always as it is, which is always as it is and forever changing. But there isn't a world to come, Elizabeth. There isn't a future. There isn't this isn't leading somewhere else. That's the most incredibly, that's probably the most liberating of all aspects of what we're speaking of, is the fact that this isn't leading anywhere. This isn't leading to a better or a worse future. This is all. This is everything. Absolutely empty, completely full. It's non-caused. It hasn't come from anywhere else. It's not going anywhere else. It simply is.
That's beautiful.
It's beyond wonder. I mean, Diana was talking about awe. It's such a simple awe and wonder of what she referred to as the mundane. But the mundane, what we're calling the mundane, is the miracle, the wonder, the mystery, the awe. It's all there is. And
Love it. Thank you.
thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Awe doesn't mean wow, by the way. You know, it's not that life here is constantly, wow, you know, off the scale of excitement and bliss and wonder. It's just that everything is awesome just because it is. A most simple, ordinary awesome. Rather than waiting. So most human beings experience life as almost perpetual mundane boredom and not enough, not good enough. Really, is this all life has to offer? Is that, you know, this, is it? And then just waiting for moments of awe and wonder and ecstasy and bliss and whatever else self has said would make life worth living. Well, life is living, and there isn't anything more. This is always all of it. There's no possibility of life being better or worse. Life is always simply as it is. And that's not a spiritual idea. That's not transcendental in any way. I mean it in the most obvious, sensual, sensory, embodied, real way. You will have heard that this is a dream, that life is a dream. Oh, a bit of Shakespeare again. And we are the stuff that dreams are made of. Terrible paraphrasing. I could never quote Shakespeare. But this dream of being, all we're speaking of is that's all there is. there isn't a possibility of escaping. The suffering is the desire to escape to something more pure, to something more real, not a dream, reality, something higher, usually, something more significant, more special. This is ordinary, this is mundane. There must be more, there must be more. That's the story that many selves tell themselves. The story of discontent, of not enough. Well, seemingly, for no apparent reason, that can die. That desire and the escape plan, the waiting to escape. There's nowhere to escape to. If it does become terribly obvious, undeniably, it's not really a knowing, it's just the impossibility that there could be anywhere else to go to, anywhere else to get to. Anything more or less. And life is incredibly simple. Just being as it is.
Jamie has a hand up.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Is it Jamie?
Yeah.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
So one of the things that has started to occur to me in these listening to you now and also other speakers in the last week, because I've been sort of addicted to this now for the last week, listening to folks talk about this, and it's really facilitated a lot of an unfolding, it feels like, right? But
Yeah.
So one of the things that has occurred to me is this idea of self versus personality, right?
Yeah.
That you can get twisted up on. Does it no self? Does that mean no personality? Does that mean I'm not me as I understand myself to express myself to be, right?
Yeah.
And getting through that and like letting go of that concept that it would be the same thing has allowed me to like watch myself be and just, yeah, it's like what, you know, sort of like watching a movie or watching, you know, a good TV show, sometimes not a very good TV show, but like, yeah, I just wanted to raise my hand on that because I felt like it was part of the experience for me. That
no, that is a really good, that's a good point, Jamie. I mean, I usually describe what I've called myself, or you know, the way that I normally behave, as character rather than personality, because personality's still got the word person in it.
Right.
And so it can sound a lot more like me, personality, you know.
Yeah.
But of course, it's no different. I usually use the word character just because it's just less personal, it sounds, you know.
Sure.
And yeah, you're dead right. One of the paradoxes, one of the great paradoxes of this is that if this is liberation at all, it's liberation for the character, for the personality, which was massively inhibited by me, my self-consciousness, myself, the way I wanted to be perceived, my self-image. All of that were like chains to the human being, you know, to this to express itself freely. And yeah, it is very paradoxical to self to hear that, oh yeah, the person, the personality, the character will be freed from me and all the inhibitions that I put on myself. So without me is free to be me much more than I was when I was me.
Or just your right, or just your understanding of it too, because it's also like, I would be the same regardless of what, like this could all carry on. It doesn't matter. It really genuinely doesn't matter whether or not the self exists, right? Or quote unquote, whatever it is,
no,
right? It would all go on, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
But it's just how, whatever this is in experiencing it or whatever,
yeah.
That's what changes. And that's where the magic is,
yeah.
because now you're free of all this. The freedom from self-consciousness
yeah.
is probably the most intoxicating part of it.
I would agree with that as well. Yeah. Yeah. Of all the pluses that I could come up with, which I have suggested about making a list. That's yet to happen. I haven't made a list yet. But freedom from self-consciousness is one of the most, you could say, intoxicating reasons to speak about this. Yeah.
Sure. For for the long, it's one of the reasons why maybe, I don't even know why. I don't know why, but for my story, my character, right? I had an experience with a glimpse of the concept of non-duality on my own very early on.
Right.
It's mid-20s. And it sort of drove me crazy, right? And it was part of this story of, mental illness and, that path. And hearing it in this context, hearing it now, or whatever it is, and I should say, feeling it making you go crazy is very different than feeling it this way, where you're not going crazy. Nothing's changed, right? It's just,
yeah,
everything is fine, right? And
absolutely. And the loss of self is no loss.
Right.
It feels like losing everything to me. To self, it feels like the loss of everything, but the loss is actually no loss at all. There is nothing to lose. There's nothing gained either. There isn't a gain.
Right.
There is just what there is. Yeah, thanks, Jenny. That's nice.
Thank you.
Just seen that I'm almost sitting in the dark here. Ah, that's better. It just got dark without me noticing.
Oh, Elizabeth has a hand up again. Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, Elizabeth. Yeah, go ahead. You're still muted, Elizabeth.
There we go. Better?
Yeah.
One of the things that, probably the biggest thing that I've found myself coming back to time and time again, is language and the use of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in creating such boxes and expectations of where we should be, what we should be doing, where we should be focused. And so I'm constantly, because I get into these discussions a lot with friends and my partner, and if we were to take the language out of the way we communicate, I feel that would just put us in the now. I mean, without any preconceived notions of what it's supposed to be, where we're supposed to be. I think that language is a huge barrier for that. That's what I keep seeing more and more.
Well, language isn't a problem. It is just what it is. It's not essentially language isn't a barrier.
Or how we define words. But
yeah,
that's kind of, yeah.
It's more that it's what language means to me, which it means something. It means reality. You know, that's the words themselves. You know, are no different to a bird singing or a dog barking. But of course, we make them real. Self makes it. I know what it is because I know the word for it. You know, that's because language and the formation of self, they form together in early childhood. Then language and self are very, you could say, they're the reality of self and the absolute reality of words and language. They're sort of wedded together. Neither are real.
Right.
Not in the sense of what they, you know, that they mean something significant. That they have.
I see a lot of times you have to stay within these boundaries of what the word means. So it's kind of, try to explain it. Like awareness, using the word awareness or consciousness.
Right.
I've gone into these really long discussions on being stuck in one place because you're so attached to that word being the truth that,
well,
you know,
just like all words. I mean, they're no more significant words than any others.
Yeah.
But of course, if you've made them special, then of course they self has made them special, then they take on a huge significance. One of the most beautiful things about this is the freedom to speak freely and to use language freely without fear of what words mean. Because there is no getting it right.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, that's immensely liberating. If it's obvious that you can't speak about this in a correct way, then of course you can't get it wrong.
Very true. I like that. Thank you.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's really what we're speaking of, that you can't get life wrong. You forfeit it all, though. You can't get it wrong. You can't get it right. Others will say you're getting it right or you're getting it wrong. That means nothing. Other than that, human beings' opinion about the words that you've spoken. So what? And this isn't about not having opinions. Opinions are just what they are. They're completely empty. It's not about preference. Preferences, there's just naturally liking what you like. You like the way some people speak. You like the words they use. You think that they're more profound. You think they're more accurate. You think they're more radical. You think they've got greater clarity. It matters not a shit. That's the freedom. None of it. There are no human beings who are closer or further away from what we're speaking of. How wonderful is that? I mean, that's freedom. This is the end of making anyone special. All the special ones. They're just as special as everyone else. And in that, incredibly ordinary. Isn't that wonderful? Every human being beautifully being the human being that they are. I don't mean to say you like them all. But that is the unconditional love that this message is speaking of, that there are no special ones. There is no special knowledge. There is no special understanding. Whatever you say you know about this, it's all completely empty and has no value.
And this is timeless. And going by the clock on the wall behind you, the meeting's just started. It's an hour behind. I think Kay mentioned it.
Well, it goes for a little while. I think it is designed to replicate what I speak about by starting, stopping, going forwards, backwards, sometimes being fast, sometimes slow. And none of it means anything. Well, thanks very much for coming, everybody. Lovely to see you all again. And I think, I don't know, because I've not heard from them, but I think it's Nothing FM on Wednesday. If it is Nothing FM on Wednesday and I'm doing a talk, then I'll advertise it. If not, then it will be meeting as usual on Thursday. Okay, well, thanks very much for coming. If you'd like to make a donation, they're always very gratefully received. And you can do that through timclissthis.com. I have put a few more things on the website, a few written pieces, if you fancy having a look at that. Oh, I've done something else yesterday as well. I went on Twitter. I'm not sure it's a good idea. I've had people tell me horror stories, but if it's good enough for Donald Trump, then I thought, well, why not? So I am tweeting. So you could, I'm still learning how it works. I'm in the dark ages of Facebook still. But tweeting's where it's at, so I'll be tweeting a bit this week. So thanks very much for coming, and lovely to see you all.
Cheers, Tim.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye, Tim. Thank you.
See you all.
See you Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday, or both.
Both.